I'm just thinking of the mountain of artwork we have to get through here. It was a mountain of work to put it together, though, so anyway, I'm glad to be back, and this song just makes me feel like I am home. Artist Journal, April 10th, 2023, broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and welcome back. Again, I almost want to just not even start because there's so much to get through, but we're going to get through fast here. We're going to do what we can. So welcome back. This is Drubal Waffle. It was an impossible decision on what to start with, but Drubal has agreed to be on a Twitter Spaces on Wednesday, and I think a lot of us will be excited about that. I'm super excited about that, so that's super cool. So I thought, let's start with this fantastic work by Drubal Waffle. And I mean, one thing before we start is seeing just like a week. Was it a week? I stopped on a Friday, I went away for a week, and I came back today on a Monday. So just 1 week. There was so much energy, artistically speaking, imaginative energy. There's so much happening, as you're going to see, that you just have to step back and marvel at what is going on here. So anyways, with that being said, let's begin. Drubal Waffle, I believe this is called sadism, which is pretty hilarious. I didn't really get it at first. Ultra sadism. I think Drubal might be a parent here. And you see the toothbrush, the teeth, and the braces. So then I finally understood. I was like, I see. Having to brush your teeth with braces, I don't even know how they do that. So maybe it's not that complicated. Anyway, another just beautiful work by Drubal Waffle. Nice Japanese writing here. And again, our classic sort of situation here where for the most part, each of the sections of the profile picture, let's say, or of the portrait, are treated differently here. So here we see the background, large pixelation. Here we see the sweater is treated just differently. And then the skin and the hair seem to be this kind of thick, paint, quote unquote. And there you see the smiling kid with the braces. So a beautiful, beautiful portrait here. And I love, actually, with the toothpaste, using this colorful toothpaste. So a really cool work here from Drubal Waffle. He's put out a few, actually. Noise, White House, Domination are... So anyways, very cool work. I'm sure we're just scratching the surface on what is going on there. There have been quite a few works, actually, by Drubal that have come out recently. The Schizoanalysis 1 through 4 here. And they're selling... Here's one for 30. So that one's actually selling pretty low. And Man Batter. So we're actually going to look at that right now. The Cleanup Guy. So, of course, I believe that is the fourth batter when you are playing baseball, when all three people are on base. Hopefully, then you get the cleanup or the home run hitter for the grand slam, maybe something like that, the cleanup. So anyways, let's look at the art, though. This beautiful kind of glitch, I think we could call it. And again, for those who are new, and it's an important thing to remember, there's a lot of kind of new people that keep on filing in to this show. So if you wonder why I kind of repeat certain things, and artists, I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of new people, and we will see a couple of comments on that. So anyways, often using kids' painting tools like Mario Paint, and Drubal has listed them off, and we talked about them in earlier episodes, but using kids' toys basically to make these incredibly beautiful works. As we see with the frame here, an incredibly successful, and it might sound easy, like, oh, if I had only used Mario Paint, then maybe I could have made stuff like that too. But I think Drubal makes it look easy because there's a lot of decisions here, a lot of courage, a lot of boldness, aesthetically speaking, is required in order to make certain leaps like this. And frankly, a lot of practice to get to that point where you're like, okay, I'll make the head in this sort of style, I'll make the background, and just to come up with that whole template or way of thinking. So here is one more, Party With Me Punker, and this just came out, I think, this out a couple of days ago. Interesting stretching going on here at the bottom and everything. So a couple of punk rockers in a cemetery with a bunch of noise in the background. So anyways, always keeping it interesting from Hey Ho, Let's Go. So you see the Ramones reference there. So it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. This is a family show on Wednesday when Drubal Waffle has agreed to come on. So hopefully that all works out as planned. And let me just increase that. So that is coming up on Wednesday. And thank you, everybody. I've pinned that up. And thank you, everybody who attended last week's while I was in Italy. Me and Runtun had Legojo, also known as Lego Geo, or I call him Lego for short and Legojo for long, and he's cool with both. As he said, 17 years old, who put together that foundation world. And it turned out I was in a bidding war for a Drubal Waffle work with Legojo just like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe. So Legojo is 17 years old, very, very talented. And these are on Spotify. If you're listening to these, and thank you for those 174 people, if you're listening to these, I recommend Spotify is a good place to listen. Also on YouTube, I'm putting them on because those are edited. So they might be a little bit smoother because these are kind of live spaces and all sorts of stuff can happen during that. Just a couple of comments here. Antonio chimed in. Antonio love your journal, Pocobelli. I love that you mentioned surrealism in my work. And we're going to see a work by Antonio today. And I'm glad to hear that you see that in some sort of, that you see them as some sort of unusable card deck. And we'll take a look at that today. Actually, that's the whole purpose of this series. How cool is that? One day I will randomly arrange them into a GIF and it will turn into a usable, unusable virtual oracle. So very cool. And thank you for the comments on the vacation and just encouragement overall. And also Toby Egglesfield had a question about the paint plotter, what I'm calling a paint plotter. Any chance you could post a link to the oil painting machine mentioned in the video, or give me a search term that would help me find it? So it was in the video before this. So in video 159, and Toby found it. So if you're looking for the physical paint plotter tool, look at the beginning of number 159 and you'll find it. Thank you for the comment, Toby. And that is it. So thank you for all the comments, everyone. I had a great vacation. It was beautiful. Livorno is a bit of a gem, a bit of a hidden secret. It's not the most, you might say, exciting Tuscan city, but that's the secret because it's still a cool city. And there isn't all the billions of tourists that you'll find in Florence or Pisa, which almost Livorno is a bit of a hidden gem. So I wanted to start with this here. In-demand artists, I found this in my email because I subscribe to Artsy's newsletter. And I thought this might be a very cool contrast with our scene here because they were saying here are the people who are getting the most traction right now in the contemporary art world, who are kind of zooming up who have grown 100% in interest and sales and this sort of stuff. Below, discover a selection of works from the artists currently gaining traction among collectors on Artsy. Using internal data, our curatorial team has pulled a selection of currently available works from most viewed, inquired, and bid on artists on Artsy this week. So again, this is the contemporary art world. Right. This is in a sense, we might say this is the established, this is in some respects, we could say the big leagues, and so I thought it might be just nice for us to I don't want to go too deep because these are like half the tabs that you see up here. But just to give us a taste of what is going on here, because my conclusion is we stack up very well, or whatever's going on in this digital art scene that we're portraying here, it's comparing very nicely, okay? It holds its own quite well in a very real way, okay? So this is just a hint of what's going on in the contemporary art world as far as some very beautiful works. Like, look at that. That's a really nice one. So, but just for contrast, because it's always good to kind of ground ourselves in a larger context here so that we kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. So Pablo Picasso Just a comment here. What if established artists are just established to us in our small bubble, but actually also still have immense upside in the grand scheme of things? So a bit of a bull, Pablo Poncasso, on where this art scene could go. And it's just an interesting, thought-provoking question. OSF had a kind of an interesting comment. NFTs this year have been depressing. I'm not sure, if you watch this show, I'm not sure you'd find that. We've seen 100 masterpieces probably, and I'm not even exaggerating. It could be more. It could be less, but heavy commoditization from airdrop farming. So this is referring to Blur, okay? Heavy commoditization from airdrop farming has ruined collecting, because basically you get rewarded when you're on the Blur NFT platform from trading, and they'll give you tokens. So now people are just buying and selling, like crazy. And what's going on is some people are starting to attribute the downside in profile picture projects, which are kind of at the top of the food pyramid that funnels down all that money that gets made into our one-of-one NFT art, in theory. So that is why a lot of the market is starting to suffer right now, somewhat. No new collectors, zero innovation, just a game of hot potato and the same group of people pumping uncreative stuff, then moving on to the next meta. It's brutal. So I would, as I always say, I'd counsel OSF to focus on the art. I mean, if you see, I'm sort of like what bear market, but I might be using different metrics. So I would say, if you're depressed by what's going on with NFTs, I would focus on, there's a ton. I'd watch this show, frankly, from January and maybe reassess. And so anyways, but different perspectives and everything interesting here. Rare, the appeal of blockchain-based art is massive. So I think Rare brings it all back home here. I can look online, find my favorite artist's work, know it's authentic, price history, and I don't have to deal with framing or shipping. And he's talking about, he's an artist, but as a collector. It's instant. No gatekeeping, no middleman for the most part. How can anyone fade NFTs? So beautifully put, succinctly put. You almost wonder if AI was involved. It's so perfectly put from Rare. And again, I'll give you a billion examples today of why you can be bullish on this scene. Here's Sabato, who had a work in the Wall Street Journal, and unfortunately, I'm on I hit the paywall. So the first time I saw it, though, the paywall was open because you get one or two articles free, and there's a Sabato work with his brother at the top of a Wall Street Journal article, which, with the New York Times, and Washington Post, I mean, you could say it doesn't get any more kind of establishment than that in terms of news media in the US. So, I mean, a major accomplishment here from Sabato. Good morning. I'm happy to share some new work I made for a Wall Street Journal assignment about VR applications for clinical exposure therapy. This work is also a fresh collab with my little brother Joshi, who captured the 3D scans. So this is this is a big deal. So that's why I'd say, there's all sorts of good things happening. This is a really interesting comment from Evelyn O. The speed, and shout out to Evelyn O. The speed this space creates images, or especially AI, will make 99% of them go to zero and to just stay being quote-unquote images. This is a very interesting comment because it can really be parsed out. My own appreciation for it is moving away from aesthetics to something else. And that will probably be the interesting part in AI to see in the future when it comes to the art in it. So kind of a mysterious tweet, but what I really liked about it was this idea. I think it's probably true. I think it's kind of almost already true. There's so much AI art, probably 99% are just quote-unquote images that will never be collected. So maybe it's just a truism, but I kind of like this idea of saying, I think that, put it this way, I think on, for example, Tezos, there's going to be a great revaluation at some point, maybe in blockchain, particularly on Tezos where it's really cheap. Ethereum, it's a little harder to say because it's not that cheap, but we could say these artworks that sell for $3 or $4, $30 for a one of one. You could argue there's going to be a revaluation upwards for Tezos art to speak very generally. But here in AI art, and just in general, there could be a revaluation downwards as well, where all of a sudden people just be like, who cares to own this stuff? They're just images. I like that. And so I think it's always good to sort of challenge your way you're seeing things, which is why I bring up so many different viewpoints here. Okay, it's not to say good, bad, whatever. Maybe we agree, disagree. But anyways, here's a very interesting tweet from mech.txt. Taking a walk and immersed myself in Gunshi's beautiful gallery. So a new kind of gallery. Peculiarly curated and displayed with beautiful lighting and simple non-obstructive interior design, exhibitors and galleries take note. Yeah, so I took a look at this, and it definitely has a different feel to it, doesn't it? And I'm not exactly sure which software. I feel like I've seen, I think even on this show, we've been in galleries where we have the ocean as the kind of background here. So we've probably seen this software, but all to say, this is something that few on-cyber galleries actually do, which is let the work breathe. And here's the Michael Micasso work, right? So it's very important to let the work breathe. And you see how this just almost the gravitas, for lack of a better word, you see the sense of, I almost want to say not austerity, that's the wrong word, but just a sense of not grandiosity, but you know what I'm saying here. It creates just a sense of importance and specialness when you let the works breathe, give them a big space like this. It kind of looks and feels like a museum, so pretty interesting, and agreed, mech.txt. Big shout out to Matias La Plata, who I'm so thrilled is back on the scene here, back on Tezos, who's put together some beautiful works. And here's another one, which I'm proud to be in with Rat Cloak here. It was a good day, is my first work made 100% on Procreate. It is also the genesis of this new project, quote, pay my apartment, end quote, collaborates with the cause, collect all the works, and help him to buy a place to live. A big shout out to Adrian Pocobelli and Rat Cloak. So this is great because what you see down here is a little homage to the show here and to Rat Cloak as well. And someone, I almost wonder if this was a reference to Santiago Izicotl screaming at the computer, which we discussed on a previous episode, who commented on a previous episode. So this is great. So anyways, thank you, Matthias. And classic sort of McDonald's and Sesame Street references there. Very cool. And here also is Matias La Plata working on the new drop, who's going physical, working for the prints to come out next week with international shipping. So also to pay. I think it's a great thing to try and, put away money to buy a place to live, selling your art. It's nice motivation, And so here are some prints. It's fun to use money as a way of inspiring you to make more work. And that's the beautiful thing. I think that's what's going on in the big picture here with this NFT digital art thing. I don't think we'd have a revolution, frankly, without this financial component. So we always have to kind of pay tribute, so to speak, to the financial side of this. Again, the Medici were bankers. Okay, so money plays an important place in art. As much as I say focus on the art, it doesn't mean we ignore it. And I think this is great. Use, what you make in art, use it as an incentive, even if you're selling for one Tezos, then you just start to accumulate. So anyways, this looks great. Matias La Plata down here, Edition, it looks very professional. And I think it was being sold for something, if I remember, it was something like $10 or $20, maybe less. I thought maybe $8. So anyways, edition of 50. Look at how good this looks over here. So very cool. And here is more physical work. This is Rennie Fish. Some of my collectors just received their limited edition print, Summer Bipolar, from my last exhibition. If you haven't got yours yet, there are still a few available on the website. So here it is. And this is an important thing for those that have never done this, is to add a certificate of authenticity. This is this is what a professional artist does, is when they send out physical work, there's a certificate of authenticity, and it says all this stuff here. It's the edition number, the details. You can find that all online, but make sure you do that. So Rinny Fish doing well, and a couple more studio shots here. Dr. Version, and shout out to Dr. Version. Thank you again for contributing on the Twitter Spaces. The story was awesome. His story of his friend in the art world. I'm going to put that out on a YouTube short and a TikTok. So all sorts of fun being had here. So anyways, here's Dr. Version's studio, and it's looking like a ton of fun. Where almost synths seem to almost meet digital art to a certain degree. Those almost look like a mixing board there, audio mixing board. And here's Demon Ego in the studio. What does it say here? Good night. And so just a clue into how Demon Ego is working. So how cool is this? This almost looks like a notebook. So very interesting, showing the tools and everything. I love these shots. Again, it just gives me a sense like, oh yeah, this guy's a real artist. This sort of stuff is great as far as from an artistic perspective. And whenever, I never post this stuff enough, but whenever I do, you generally get a good response. So it's well worth doing. And here's Bazaya, Got Physicals. So Bazaya has his work in this interesting frame here. And I think this is a collector that posted this, but I'm not positive. He posted the tweets, but I think someone was printing them out. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but it looks great. And again, it's so great to see this scene go physical. And it already was, but I think we're seeing a lot of physical right now, and I think that's awesome. Here's a poetic work from Uxine, Dat, edition of 11. Very nice piece here. And again, poetic, this large kind of death figure with a flag. And again, kind of the smaller individual, beautifully kind of painted here. And again, probably using Procreate, and just these great kind of layers here in the GIF and everything. It's beautiful, Uxine. So great colors too, almost adding a bit of a pink maybe into the mix. Det. And here's a new Tez Noun from Uxine. So he's done a couple, and here's another one, and it's looking great. So again, showing real versatility here too, doing pixels here, and otherwise doing kind of more oil brush. And here's just a cool tweet by Uxine too. I am an artiste, and someone painting the computer screen on this retro monitor. And you see, it's just, you see like what looks like an image, and it just gets Uxine's treatment, right? Like there's basically, you see the process here a little bit, from what I gather here, it looks like different treatments, different kind of what you could maybe call loosely filters, or renderings, digitalizations of an original image, and then you start to layer on different versions, different colors, and it almost becomes like a Warhol silkscreen. You see the colors underneath, and then you put the black on top, and then everything comes together. It's kind of like a Warhol silkscreen. So just, interesting, isn't it? A poetic, interesting work from Gloom too. Yes, so always keeping it unpredictable and always keeping it, the critique is real here, and let me actually get the title for you, Trapped. So here is the individual trapped in this kind of ethereal cage, and here's the world, and you see all this stuff, the, data, and maybe data here with Wi-Fi, everything, security. Here you see maybe the environment on fire. Here you see someone being targeted. Here you see a bear market, stocks or crypto going down. Here you see guns, maybe smaller, and war. And here, I don't know if this is flooding, and a nuclear and everything, maybe a UFO for good measure. So really a portrait of the individual, of today's quote-unquote individual, and all of the kind of fears and stresses, in the big picture, a picture, as I like to do sometimes, of mass psychology, the mass subject, the popular psyche. So interesting take from Gloom 2. Rustic digital art with kind of a nice dream estate. Very interesting kind of, I almost want to call it like a pastoral sort of work, but combining the Mario, it looks like Duck Hunt here, and the cropped Mario for good measure with a very long kind of psychological shadow like you'd find in Kiriko or Dali. and more irrationality too, where the kind of the light green yellow sky bleeds into the horse here, and just interesting treatment and interesting contrast as well. This style of painting, this kind of like painterly approach here with this kind of pixelized works. It seems to harmonize fairly well, and even the Mario question mark box. It all seems to, I mean, that's kind of what I kind of marveled at in this work, is how well this seems to harmonize. So that is interesting. And frankly, just from a color perspective, red and green complementary colors, it kind of, yeah, and there you have it there too. It works on a color basis quite well, doesn't it? So Dream Estate, a 1 of 1, let's just see what it sold for. 70 Tezos. And it originally listed for 120, lowered the price, sold right away, sold in a minute. Was that right? No, in 20 minutes for 70. So maybe you just, maybe we all have to adjust our prices for bear market of sorts, even in the arts here. Credits, I thought this was great too, also by Rustic Digital Art. So playing with, credits, I don't even know if you see credits at the end of TV shows anymore, because that's how little I watch Netflix. I think you do. But it's almost like the credits at the end of a video game or a movie kind of turned into, with this kind of a cool, Nintendo font. And then you have the crop Mario kind of just covering it all mysteriously. I think it's beautiful. What is this? Edition of 3. I just love the concept too. 421, and maybe one left for, Mikey Wilson, Mike Nash, and Sabato. So nice group of collectors there. A very beautiful painterly work, of course, by Ed Merola, instantly recognizable. MSK, so MetaMask, we can assume, is the fox. And I was like, before I even saw the title, I was like, is that the MetaMask fox? I thought it was quite brilliant. And I was also, but maybe I'm even more impressed, though, with just the painterliness of this. There's something extremely beautiful about this kind of low resolution, not worrying too much if this is crisp. I mean, it's a bias that I think almost everybody has, that digital art has to be crisp to a certain degree. And I think one of Ed's kind of revolutionary things that he's done is he's embraced that things can be fuzzy. Things can be fuzzy, and we see it here in this beautiful work. Looks like kind of one of his dream works. And look at, again, the painterliness of this. And here you see someone with almost the covers here. Looks like another dream. So an open screen to nowhere not here to point 2 still available. So very cool. Here's another one, and I'm just picking a few because he had so many that he released. And he's got a ton more in the pipeline. So this is just kind of interesting too. Stamp. And this is available for 10 Tezos. And combining a whole bunch of different things that Ed does. And here's just something else from Ed. I've been using Midjourney a lot these days. So this is interesting. I use it for reference on shadows and composition mostly. And this is kind of how I always saw AI as maybe being used originally before. Like raw AI, that whole concept was pretty alien to me personally when I first came across it. And maybe it was to a lot of people until people started making images and realizing I don't need to do anything to this. But I always saw it kind of as a compositional tool. 90% of the time, I trace over all the AI content. I won't even upscale the images. The 4x grid is enough for pixel art. So just using, it's true, right? And sometimes when you're tracing, and I'm a big fan, as maybe a lot of you already know, of tracing. Warhol was a great tracer. There is an alchemical transformation, one could argue, that occurs in tracing. It's a way of representing the work here, and you see it here. So here's the work by Ed, and it is based on these images created by Midjourney. So you can see it here. So exactly. So just really interesting to see how Ed is working there. And again, just from it's so great. This is a great way to learn about artists. So it's almost like we have to teach people about our art as artists. We should be doing an ongoing kind of education of what we're doing. And this is something I'm very guilty of not doing. Maybe it's because I do this show because I'm constantly talking about it, but talking about one's own art and what you're up to. It's very beneficial. Ed Merola, and so here's the piece. And here we go. broadcast. And of course, Ed has experience in audio. And it's 2 minutes of audio here, so I just skipped ahead there. So, super cool from Ed Merola for Tezos. Antonio Loves, big shout out. Thanks for the comment, Antonio. And remember we were talking at the start of the show of the card deck, the unusable card deck? Well, this is from that series here, Ace of Crosses. Ace of Crosses, God Lives Among Thoughts, 4,000. So a digital drawing courtesy of Antonio Loves. And keeping things very interesting and kind of surreal here. And here we have the cross and a hand and even what looks like maybe a gold necklace perhaps, and just some clouds, cloud-like shapes. Anyways, just super interesting. Just minted, I believe, or minted and not for sale yet. So interesting. Beautiful. And look at this. So back to the physical world with Flora Marquez, whose work we've looked at almost every show this year. Look at this. So working with ceramics here and just translating Flora's style right onto ceramics. Very cool. Again, it creates a sense of depth and range when you see an artist that is, all of a sudden if Flora, these are my ceramics, here are my prints, here is my digital work, then you go, wow, this is a serious artist, okay? Speaking of which, here's Flora Marquez, some of her daily drawings that she's doing. And so this is April, where I think green has been added and maybe pink. So the colors seem to change a bit. Almost has a bit of a watercolor kind of feel to it. So continuing to watch the evolution here. The universe listens, believe it or not. And just seeing what this sold for, 20 Tezos. And here's some cool mushrooms. Impossible to get bored outside. So again, interesting color palette, I would say, for sure. And here's another one with a girl kind of flying through the clouds here. When I overthink, I go far away. Still available for 20 Tezos. So all very cool from April. And this is just a smidget of what's available here. Like, this is not a comprehensive view. Flora's got a ton more. I thought this was kind of funny from Die With The Most Likes for Easter. I thought it was a great play on, it looks like, doubting Thomas, so to speak. I'm not sure if it would be it's almost like putting the finger in the wound of Christ to see if it's real, but instead it's into a smartphone. And quite a beautiful rendering of Christ here in Die With The Most Like style here. And even just this there's little details like this, like the Christ is quite beautiful. So, and of course, the brutal satire, so Sunday service from Die With The Most Likes and Someone Outside. I thought quite a brilliant work from Die. And continuing on, let's see what else. Just an interesting abstract piece. And at first I thought this might be generative art. This is by Clint Fulkerson. So I think the first time on the show, digital drawing by Clint Fulkerson based on Spuma Sketch ballpoint pen drawing on Taya. So if we had more time, we'd bring up that Taya work. So anyways, I thought kind of an interesting abstract work here. And check out these works by Santiago. This one in particular really was striking. Buy now for 0.04, edition of 10. 10 are available. So look at this. Let me see if I can make it big. And what is this on? This is on Known Origin, or hardly on Known Origin. I don't know if I've ever actually, surprisingly, I'm not sure if I've ever brought up a work from Known Origin, so well overdue. And look at this super cool abstract work. I love how there's kind of a repetitive structure here. Whatever this thing is, that seems to be repeated and repeated. And then it's even kind of echoed here up top. There's something about this structure that I think is quite beautiful here. So interesting from Santiago on Known Origin, keeping it interesting. And a few other works by Santiago here. GN. So this looks physical. And so I'm not sure if it is, but it looks physical. So interesting. And here, I'm bringing them up on Twitter so they don't kill my computer. This is on 17,000 by 10,000 pixels on super rare. Reserve is 1.1 ETH, so a huge work from Santiago, changing the color to kind of a pink here, playing with pixelation and all sorts of kind of web detritus, digitalia, whatever you want to call it. So just more interesting work from Santiago. And check this one out. Good morning. So this is on Object. It is sold out. I took a look at it, but it sure looks great, doesn't it? And again, you got to love when an artist just takes a kind of concept. Here I'm going to, again, this meat grinder that I'm going to put all these digital references into, and then I put it through my little meat grinder here, and then I kind of play with that. He's really exploring this, and so it just keeps being interesting. And this, I think, is a work in progress, but there's something to be said, already shared before. There's something to be... I don't know if it's a work in progress, and there's something to be said if it's not, and just kind of leaving things kind of open and free. And we were talking about Robert Rauschenberg's drawings or image transfer works, and we're going to see works from Images of the Week that remind me of those. There's something to be said for negative space too. And even if these are works in progress, this negative space looks beautiful and interesting and great, right? And I think just one more, playing with different colors in the background, different things. So you got to love the experimentation here. And let's see if we have any. So this is on Object, 5 Tezos. I could start the car and it wasn't very clear if it would start or not. Now I'll drive to take it to the capital to fix it. I hope it doesn't take too long. So Santiago ever having to worry about his car. I don't miss not having a car, let me tell you. And let me tell you, being in Italy, it was great not to rent a car and just take the train. As I was talking with a friend, like rent a bike, not a car, if you're in Italy. This is interesting as well. This is also Santiago, one more, Inkscape Nation. So I think that's a software that Santiago uses. And what I like about this, it's probably an Inkscape, it is, an Inkscape screenshot, we see that here. But taking, screenshots and working them into this kind of abstraction. So just kind of interesting, more interesting experimentation here. It's like Santiago has taken a strategy, which I kind of wished I'd taken, and in theory could still take at any time, which is kind of release everything to a certain degree. Everything that kind of looks interesting, release it. Maybe we should all be doing that. It's a pretty interesting, fun way to work. Anyways, Ceremony Moni from Yuri J. Look at this. So I thought this was a pretty interesting work, and I think Yuri put out a tweet saying, going back to basics with this one, and almost like a stained glass window here with the mosaic filter, and interesting filtering, which I've never even seen before here on the floor. So back to basics, the strange perspective and everything. So what happened here? Sold out at 5 Tezos. So there you have it, Yuri J holding on to 5 of them. Look at this. This is a week, right? And this is not a comprehensive view, and we have a ton to get through still. And where are we? We're at the 38-minute mark, so I got to run faster. RJ with Matisse's, I think it's called The Dance, sneak peek for something this week. So just a beautiful pixel treatment. You could have released like this, but what RJ did, Dancing Windows, a pixel rework of Matisse's 1910 piece called Dance. So put different versions here. So this was out on Object, and I picked one of these up. They're for accepting offers for above 15, I think. So that is cool. And also an RJ does a Tez noun, and I thought RJ's idea was hilarious here. I thought it was quite brilliant. So does it in RJ's trademark style, puts it on the screensaver of the computer. Really cool work here from RJ, as ever. So this is cool too. And look at Capan's work here. I almost started with this. This is a really cool work by Capan on Foundation. And there's a lot to like about this. Here, let me just re-expand it. I just adore this contrast here of here you have kind of this movement and pixelation, kind of in movement, and here you just have staticness. And that contrast here, and it's black and white with color, this contrast between these is very powerful. We sort of see that with Dexter's work, where in some of the works you'll just see a little thing moving, maybe a little fire at the edge of the, canvas, so to speak. You'll see a little bit of movement, and that just changes, it creates this contrast and changes the whole idea of how you read the image. And it just changes everything. Because if this was static, I don't think it would be as exciting. But I think this being dynamic, it adds excitement to this. It adds excitement. So it's kind of back to contrast. And this is an interesting thing. It's an addition of 10 for 0.03 ETH on Manifold. Nice title too. Inside, you can't hear anything at all. So another, what I want to call kind of mystical pixel art from Capan. Here's another one, Micro Macro. So really cool, kind of similar idea, dynamic with color and static with black and white pixel art. And here's another one, Open Edition, which is finished, only 6 minted. So that's a pretty low edition for Capan, The Observer. And a pretty cool work here and beautiful colors. So you got to watch those open editions as a collector, because sometimes it's tempting to think there's going to be, I'm not going to collect this because there's going to be too many. And some of them, edition of 6. Here's a collaboration with Captain and Muiji. Artificial Lake, Nature Provides, Humans Destroy. So this, I think, is using GIMP as well. And so anyways, kind of, similar to Ed in the sense that, Ed Merola, in the sense that we almost have an unconcern, just not being overly concerned that every pixel has to be super crisp. I think this is really, edgy from an aesthetic point of view, and I think just interesting. Created using GIMP and Deluxe Paint, 200 by 200 pixel canvas, amazing, and multiplied by 4 for 800 pixel final size. Fascinating. Here's another work by Muiji, Cyber Older. This is an edition of 1. I don't know if Muji's ever released an edition of 1 before. So for 39 Tezos. So that's pretty cool. Probably using Deluxe Paint, as it says right here. 960 by 960. And some work by Michael Micasso that was posted. Previous explorations, I suppose it's a good time for me to graduate from red and blues. So maybe going to expand the colors. This is quite beautiful, I found, with the elk here and everything. So anyway, just nice to see Michael Micasso's some unreleased works here. The mountains here is really cool too. How it comes out of the atmosphere and then playing with this framing device. And this is also Michael Micasso. New hashtag, Mech Drawing, more drawing studies. So what I found interesting about this, among other things, it's a beautiful drawing here. I wonder if it's a Procreate drawing, or if it's, because again, these materials are so beautiful here. It's tempting to think Procreate, because Procreate actually makes nicer, I'd argue, pencil marks than, you need some really good tools for that, which is another reason to, digital over physical sometimes. This is looking great. And what I found kind of interesting is Michael Micasso kind of works with this framing, right? And then we'll have like maybe a landscape here and then frame it, but then the landscape here turns into a bird. So playing with this framing device, it seems, and then stopping it here. So you see kind of, similarities with some of the pixel art work. Tomba Battle with a gorgeous work here. It reminded me of like an impressionist painting. And and here you have the light coming in and the leaves. A little bit more movement than I think we're used to on a Tomba Battle with the leaves here. I thought a really cool work. Sakura, 6 still available on Primary. I think I just picked one of these up. Yeah, just this morning. And there's one left for 666 here. I thought just a really nice work by Tom Bombattle. And here, again, so this looks like, it kind of reminds me of Popple, where showing the sketch that the pixel art is based on. So I'd be super impressed if, so what I imagine is going on here is there's probably a reference underneath. You use then you trace a loose reference, how you want it to be, of that reference, I'm guessing. It may just be straight out of Tom's imagination, but let's say you just trace the reference, put in whatever you want here, and then you go into the pixel art program, and then you just turn it into raw pixels. Pretty interesting. Have a nice Sunday from Tomba Battle. Look at the Devil by Manadal. The 15th tarot card is representation of your shadow or darker side, as well as the negative forces that limit you and prevent you from being your best self. You might be impacted by unfavorable behaviors, dependencies, thoughts, relationships, and addictions. The temporary pleasure you experience and the suffering you endure in the long run have imprisoned you, similar to how the Lover's card discusses dualism and choice. Even if it compromises your long-term well-being, you're going the route of temporary delight. In essence, you've given the devil your soul. It's always a crazy card to have come up. I had one come up like 12 years ago. I'm glad. I haven't really done too many tarots since, but yeah. It was probably merited too at the time. Not for sale yet from Manadal, but you got to keep tabs on that because they sell out almost immediately. And here is Popple with another Satellitenstadt 007 here. And just another one of these kind of wild pixel artworks with what looks like some sort of digital sigil here and, you know, some sort of light, kind of, again, sci-fi pixel art, half abstract almost. Buy for $5, and there's still 6 left. And Popple also put out a noun, a Tez noun, and I thought did a really beautiful job of it. Special edition, bridging the gap between PFP art inspired by the CCO spirit. Nouns on ETH and top iconic artists on Tezos. So here is Popple. So beautiful. And here's one by Daniel W. Also. So a beautiful work. And it screams Daniel W. The colors and also the composition. So another Tez noun. Gogolitis, All is Full of Love. This just came out this morning. And here you see a return of these cats from earlier work. You're seeing the new color scheme here and almost like a fractal kind of, almost what looks like a nuclear kind of core here. And playing with a fairly small canvas in terms of each pixel here is actually quite large. I wonder if Gogolitis has more info on that. So not sure how big this is, but I'd guess like 64, maybe 100 pixels. So Gogolitis, this is taking offers. And remember the fish by Dan Control, I think from last episode, last episode. So it's already getting tributes. I was saying, like, it's a beautiful, stunning work. I almost started last show with that fish. Here, thanks to Dan Control, now I'm obsessed with fishes. Like, they're beautiful. And so here's a homage, and there's another homage here, alternate version. It was a brilliant idea, and I don't even think I have Dan Control's pigeons, but the pigeons are fabulous. I'm sure they'll come up here sooner or later. I don't think it's in this week's show. There's too much. Yeah. So Francois Gamma. And so Francois Gamma with some very cool work. So super prolific here. You almost wonder, Francois Gamma had their wallet compromised recently, so you almost wonder if Francois Gamma is making up for lost time. Anyways, check this out. This was on Instagram. Got a ton of likes too. Look at that. 262 likes on Instagram for Francois Gamma. People loved that work. So I'm surprised to not see it minted. Maybe it is minted somewhere, but it was taking that walking theme and really running away with it here. Here is more from Francois Gamma, edition of 15, and there are 12 left. So continuing to just hammer away at the walking theme. And as you see here, so this is the new wallet from Francois Gamma. So you see already a page here. So putting out a ton of work, and that's super cool to see. And here's just another beautiful work. This sold out. I want to pick one of these up. I was on vacation, sold out for 3 Tezos, and this is called X-Spray Call. Sounds like some sort of coding or something. So anyways, very cool work. Now on secondary for 15. And here's another one, Ska Call, Francois Gamma. So another person walking. So very cool. And here are some abstractions, XCU from Francois Gamma. So putting together a ton of work here. So an interesting gray background, isn't it? It would have been tempting to make this black or, you know, so interesting background, almost like a gray, blue, green. One more, I think, Sverbal. And this is quite interesting too. Actually, I think we have 2 more from Francois Gamma. So you see this square just go through the spheres here. So interesting experimentation, if you ask me. And here's another one, LOQ. So just interesting, you know, animated abstracts from Francois Gamma. Sabato procrastination flower, the dreaded procrastination flower hold during the panic attack. So kind of an interesting piece here. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Almost like a fiery flower here. Maybe it's like a sun. What kind of flower is this? Procrastination flower. It looks like a sunflower of sorts. Interesting contrast of this kind of like non-moving, static dark pixels with the moving dynamic color pixels. Kind of a similar idea to what we were seeing in Capan, right? And then still over here and then moving here. So anyways, interesting background here too. You can probably barely see it, but just kind of like a dotted background here. And even this noise here kind of reminds me of Uxine there. So just interesting stuff going on. I love this kind of stuff. You know, just mark making, that painterly mark making that we're seeing more and more, that I'm talking about more and more just as I look at the works. And here's recent work by Sabato. We're going to go to those other works in more of a glitch section coming up right away here. Crashed at 99%. So Native Ed, who also recently collaborated with Gogolitis, you might recognize this window here. And anyway, just continuing to be interesting. Crash system slow due to high traffic. Please refresh your browser. So very cool series here from Native Ed, and we'll come back to that. This kind of seems to be in a similar genre here too. This is Corpega, and I think this is a tribute to Robness. This series is called JPEG Fam. So kind of portraits of sorts here. And let's just make this big if we can. See if my computer can handle all these images here. Maybe we'll have to leave it small for now. Web3 ready, JPEG fam. So anyway, it's just kind of a cool work by now for 0.015 ETH. Total minted 4, another day to go on that. Leprochant, if I'm pronouncing that right, who has a great feed, by the way. A few works you're going to see here today are from Leprochant retweeting. So well worth a follow, just kind of discovered Leprochant here. Head Without Ear. So triptych inspired by the works of Zicojam, Kitzelo, Uxine, Xcopy, and Xmortal. So that's very cool. I never even would have guessed. It's kind of back to this idea, climbing up the ladder and then throwing it away. Sometimes how you get there, you'd never know. So edition of 3, available for $350, and Uxine has picked one up. That's awesome. Or transferred to Uxine. Transferred. And here is a pretty cool still, I believe this is by LB. So just a nice still here of kind of some glitches. Here's another one. Good looking when it's big, isn't it? So also Acid Soup with another really cool kind of fast food glitch here. Might have to pick this up. Beautiful. This one is 333 edition of 11. Really nice series here. This is beautiful. And here are some glitches, is this crunch time? What are the data bending glitches from Sabato. So just some cool abstracts here. Footage captured on OnePlus 7 Pro phone, H.264 codec data bending glitches 2020 baked with Adobe Media Encoder in 2023. And we have another one. So just beautiful abstracts, same idea here. So true glitch art here, or traditional glitch art, I don't even know what to call it. It's some really cool work here from Sabato. This is from 2020. And records of provenance. So again, it's sort of like the certificate of authenticity, showing provenance. This is a really cool idea. Like, you know, just showing this is where you can find it earlier. All this stuff helps build credibility and kind of trust, actually, with artists. Shows they're serious. They're here for the long haul. You know, here's my work from 2020. Artist I hadn't seen before, Jamie Derringer. Let me just give that person a follow. My super rare Genesis is finally live. Reserve is set at half an ETH. Thanks for everyone. So just kind of an interesting, kind of looks like pretty glitchy here too. I'm not sure how it was made. I think some AI might be involved as well. Anyway, just kind of interesting. I don't think there's volume. Just kind of washes right over you, doesn't it? Interesting colors too. So here is the super rare artist musician weirdo. So it looks like part of a new series here, Chromesthesia. And running through the rest of this episode here, I'm actually happy at how fast this is going. Super rare Genesis from Inavare. So you almost wonder with all the glitch kerfuffle that happened maybe 3 weeks ago, Now we're starting to see glitch artists Genesis on Super Rare. Maybe there's a connection there. So Super Rare Genesis, Inavare. So kind of looks like, yeah, this is single edition analog video finalized as looping GIF. So isn't that interesting? And here's Sky Goodman, the signified evaporating in dissolved light hi-fi. So really beautiful work by Sky Goodman here. Love the color and everything. Continues to just turn the head. So super cool work from Sky Goodman. Look at now Tukes. I mean, Tukes is really pushing a lot of limits here. And remember, as far as I understand with Tukes, the prompts are being created by ChatGPT. One assumes there's a first mover prompt that Tukes is putting into ChatGPT, make me a prompt of an abstract work, etc. And then that's 500 words long or whatever, then gets that out of ChatGPT and then puts that into Midjourney. And then you even wonder if this is AI. What if I am the wonder? And Tukes is basically saying almost everything actually is what Tukes said is AI. So this is just, again, like I've never seen a work like this. The promise of AI. Look at this. I was tempted to start. I started with Tukes the other day, so I was like, I can't do it. Look at this stunning, unbelievable work here. It's stunning. It's absolutely just like I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. And people look, 124 retweets, 584 likes. Let's see what kind of coverage this is getting here. 17,000, that's pretty good. Yeah, and there's Tukes wisely putting, here's my links to my stuff because this one's going far. Really smart, actually. Take a note over here, Tukes. This is just stunning, though. Absolutely stunning work here. I mean, what is this? It's beautiful. Here's some more work by Tukes. The Magic Pong. Again, I think these are AI probably titles. Goes live in about an hour on Foundation. 24 editions feature. Have fun, y'all. And look at this. Physical. And just beautiful. I think this is on Hanamula paper. Beautiful prints here. So Tukes is really continuing to show, what's the word? Just, for lack of a better word, fortitude. Just like staying strong and just building and growing and keeping strong here. Here's another work, Alchemy of Shape and Form, of one of one. So anyways, just really pushing the AI. Here's another one by Tukes, Translucency Candy Core. So very, very interesting. Now here's another artist that we just started looking at. Luma, Radiant Souls, is now open on Foundation. So this is a whole series. We're going to look at it in a second. I think this is AI because a lot of the artists buying Lume's work are AI artists. So, and just you see everything that's going on here. I suspect this is AI. I'm not positive on that though. Here's another one. I'm not sure if we looked at this one or not, but quite beautiful. Do we have any info here? AI artist capturing liminal dreams through machine learning. So again, the promise of AI. Here's more. I mean, so it's sort of like, if you're not working with AI, and I say this to myself as much as anybody, if you're not working with AI, I use a lot of ChatGPT, but Midjourney, got to get on Midjourney if that's what's even being used here. Here's a series, and quick note on that. Use it while you can. I mean, Italy, you can't use ChatGPT. There is talk of banning ChatGPT and Midjourney in Germany and France. So it's kind of, from my perspective, this has gotten totally ridiculous. But there you have it. They're out of concern and safety for you, my friends. So, So anyways, here's the series. No complaints of the AI over here. Look at this. All this original novel art we are getting. Thank you to the artists, the prompt engineers, and another stunning work, and AI and this incredible technology. Fluctuations Reader by Mr. Shapeless. So a beautiful, stunningly beautiful portrait here. It looks like a gorgeous oil painting, doesn't it? It looks like oil paint, but with this beautiful, crisp, digital, pixelation here. A beautiful hybrid. This is stunning. Stunning, stunning work by Mr. Shapeless. Another work, Broken Memories. And again, like this came out March 21st. I don't think we've seen this one. And this, you see a city and kind of the Wanderer figure. I mean, that's very loosely speaking. And actually, it's too bad we couldn't bring up the Sabato because it was also a Wanderer, Der Wanderer figure. Anyways, so more work by Mr. Shapeless. And I'm thrilled we're only at an hour here because we're almost done. And a series by Mr. Shapeless. This is called Misery, and the series is called Alchemy. Interesting, abstract works here. And I brought it up here just to give you a taste of what's going on in this series. And you see how quickly, these people that are making AI art, they're going to threaten the prolificness, for lack of a better word, of Picasso and Warhol. Okay, if you can make 100 images a day or 10, I think I calculated, if you want to match Picasso, you'd have to make something like 12 images a day for 10 years, consistently. I think the AI artists can do that. And what does that mean from just like being prolificacy point of view? Anyways, and like these are not, these are cool works. And so anyways, all very interesting. I believe this is Just Thuja. So again, who uses AI, but I think uses other stuff as well. I'm not sure what's going on in this one. This looks like it might be raw AI, but I'm not sure. Anyways, a beautiful, high resolution flower arrangement here, just gorgeous. And Sabato with more work here, more like Godspeed because it's going down to the wire. So this also looks like AI work, playing with the Autotopia series, maybe. Very beautiful. And more, look at this great AI art by Strange Thing. So playing with almost these, ancient architecture and bringing that, look at this. Look at this. So anyways, this is stunning. Even if you just made this a graphic, you're kind of good to go. Look at this. So just fascinating and beautiful. We're seeing new novel imagery and competently done, So just super interesting from Strange Thing as ever. How many? 3,000 likes. I think Strange Thing has something like 40,000 followers, 41,000, and they just keep growing every day. Like Strange Thing is going to be world famous. Already kind of is in our bubble. Has been for a while, but let's see. Maybe Strange Thing does end up in MoMA before too long here. Venta. This looks like a newer version of Midjourney that Venta is using, doesn't it? So interesting piece here from Venta, also AI artists. And we have a couple of massive pieces here from Trueface, who is at the top of the charts there on Object. I was pleased to see. Big shout out to Trueface, a very friendly, nice individual, and AI pioneer as far as I understand, at least, creating their own code. Doesn't rely, I don't think, on Midjourney, but does their own sort of code. What does it say here? Training of own AI models. Okay, 33 unique pieces by OG AI Trueface. So very cool here. And 50 Tezos, so pretty reasonable here. And here are a whole bunch that were released. This is probably why Trueface was on the top of the charts. They're probably all released. And then, you don't need to sell too much to get on the top of the charts. Like, I think I brought it up here. Like, I think we have one more, and then we'll see the charts with Trueface. So here's another one. So it's pretty cool if you can make your own code, isn't it? So super cool here. And yeah, if you're selling 633 Tezos, you're at the top of the charts. So good incentive to, really make some sales here. Another one by White Solitude. More AI work that looks incredibly painterly and persuasive in a very persuasive way. So beautiful seed planting. Gorgeous. One of one still available for 30 Tezos. And here, Artificial Memory by Images of the Week. Remember we were talking about Robert Rauschenberg's series of image transfers. This, again, and gorgeous, gorgeous color. Again, a little bit of code there. So AI work, still available for 5 Tezos, and more gorgeous colors. Artificial Memory 21. Gotta love this stuff here. That stuff, this stuff. it's gorgeous. And even just like the purple, the violet. Here's another AI artwork. I think Spogle's Mesquine, and this kind of went around a little bit. Edition of 10, and kind of interesting work here.
I don't understand why we are here. Time shines like the stars, but the swaying of it doesn't let my mind breathe.
So, yeah, maybe a commentary on our digital lives, perhaps. Interesting texture in the background there. Let me just stop that. Are We Even Alive by Daniris de la Mancha. Now you have to buy it for $60 on secondary from Mason. Big shout out to Mason. So this sold for 6 Tezos on primary. So a popular work. And look at this. I think Lepro Chant tweeted this out. Study of empty and full JPEG. I don't even know what this is. Like, I assume it's AI. Just because of the kind of distortions we see here. I suspect this is AI, but again, more novel imagery. And finally, a few physical works. This is by Deborah Hirsch. My painting Firmamento and Cathedrals, Fire, Acrylic Oil and Ink on Canvas, will be exhibited at a group exhibition in Milan next Friday. And I am just thrilled at how quickly the show is going because there are so many tabs open here. Anyways, I thought this was beautiful. Here, kind of a non-finito looking work here. The power of the unfinished work. Here's another one. I think Lepra Chant tweeted this out. Tate Artots. Happy weekend, friends. And yeah, I thought that was a familiar name. So again, people working physically here. So very cool. I'm a huge fan if these are the liquid acrylics. Liquid acrylics and heavy gel, for those that have watched this far, is a wonderful combination. It almost looks better than oil. It actually does. I prefer the heavy acrylic, golden, or Liquitex, heavy acrylic gel, get the good kind. Pay like, $30 for that jar. And then you use liquid acrylics is a wonderful way to get some painterly, and then get a good brush and everything. Then you get some beautiful textures there if you're working physically. Speaking of physical, here's Walk with a couple of works here showing the work in progress, interestingly. So, actually, this is finished. Sunny. So not sure who that's referring to, but we have another one, and we all know who this is. Steve Jobs. Look at how masterfully done this is. This is like just a beautiful work of art. Is this for sale? Just tweeted by Walk. Could be an older work, and a few physicals by Die With The Most Likes, who is also doing very well here. Dying of Natural Causes outside of Joanne Fabrics. It almost makes you want to cry, but it's tragic comedy. Goop Winter Olympics, and that one's just a little easier, and yeah. So anyways, I believe Dye uses acrylics, and here's another one. What is this called? We went to the bar with Vonnegut, wrote Slaughterhouse 5 and watched it. Yeah, okay. I don't even want to read it because I'm having a beautiful Easter Monday here. And anyways, cool work from Die With The Most Likes. And here, Mikel Kalina. Let me just see if I can... This is by Sanille, and Mikel Colonna picked this up for 375 Tezos. Beautiful work, isn't it? I think these are physical. So super beautiful. I think we have another one by Sani Ozbek. And here, this is an edition of 15, also physical. See, it's like a Queen of Hearts here, and you see Queen, and it's like a take on a trading or a playing card. Very cool. And square, interestingly. So interesting crop there. Hearts Queen. And then here's an artist I've been following for a long time, David R. Hales on Instagram, with some more cool work. He's been doing this for years and just keeps getting better and better. 424. How many followers? Only 2,800 followers and 425 likes. Maybe it's maybe what's helping that are the hashtags. Maybe there's still something to be said for hashtags on Instagram. Interesting. And here is Auden Alvestad. And I think this was one of the artists that were in that Artsy article that we began this show with. Okay, so anyways, cool painter. There's Audun in the studio here. So anyways, and that is your show, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody. And until next time, take care.